Well, this is what I got going on. I am, as you can see, working this dark area, and this is just down from the pond that we put in last year. And this whole area was kind of just like, it just fell right off. There was nothing here. I bit off more than I could chew. I needed to get it done. And so instead of just leaving a bunch of raw dirt, I just spread a bunch of hay over the whole area. And so it was time before the spring came to do something with it. So what I did was I added a bunch of compost and some soil and just some random dirt that I had around. I had some sand that I had. There's definitely still some branches and stuff in it, but not the end of the world. And I brought the whole thing up so that it would be like a nice taper down to the driveway, because it did just kind of like fall straight off, and then it was flat, kind of like how that wheat is. That bright green is all the wheat that I planted last year in that area, because it was completely raw dirt that I had brought in, and I just wanted to put something down as a cover crop. And now I might leave it and actually see what happens. It'd be kind of cool to grow some wheat of our own here on the farm for nothing else, for some cat grass or something like that. And the deer come through and they like it. But anyways, so what I'm doing now is I'm kind of flattening this all out, and I am going to come back after it's all flattened out and looks pretty decent, and I am going to plant this Wildflower seed mix by Eden Brothers. This is about the best product that you can find, that I could find, for a Wildflower seed mix that was good but not great. I bought this in a 5-pound bag, and I've bought it a bunch of times, and it's really good. Germination rate's really good. I've used it all over. It's a 60% annual, 40% perennial, so you get a lot of color in the first year, and then you get some of that carryover in the second year. The only thing I'll say about this is it says Ohio Wildflower seed mix, which is great because we're in Ohio, but it's only about 40% native wildflowers, actually native to Ohio, which not the end of the world. If you look at the other stuff, it's mostly just like color and filler, some popular wildflowers that you'd want to have. And that's fine. There's nothing in there that's invasive or anything that you have to worry about with that. There's a couple varieties in there that have native cultivators or cultivars. Not sure which word that is. But anyways, it has native cousins, so to speak. And you do run the risk of like diluting some of the native when you bring in some of that. But I don't know. It's not a perfect system. So, we want to get some color here. My goal for this would be for this year to this thing just be like pow. So when you come in the driveway, you come around the driveway, and then it's like bam, wildflowers, ton of color. And then you come up the driveway, and then as you come up the driveway, then you have the pond. So like I was saying, this is the pond we put in last year. It's got a pretty big algae bloom right now, but other than that, it's actually pretty sweet. Oh, there's a little bee doing some spinning in there. They're coming in for drinks of water. I've saved a bunch earlier, but unfortunately they come in, they land on the algae, and then it's too wet for them, so they don't get to make it very long. Like this little guy right here. Oop. Come on, bud. Anyways, yeah, so I want to bring this up. We'll kind of make it flat here to the driveway, and then I'll smooth it all out. I'll rake it all out. We'll have it looking pretty good, and then we'll put the grass seed down. So it's kind of getting to be the second half of March right now, and this would be a good time to get a bunch of grass seed down. The grass that you see in there is either grass or wheat that I dug out. You can see, I'm sure, down there by the truck. But in addition to the fact that we're planting a bunch of grass seed here, I'm going to work this edge all the way down. I already started, got about half of it done. I picked up 4 ton of this. It's supposed to be 6 to 8 inch riprap, but clearly it's a little bit smaller, not the end of the world. But I'm gonna work this whole ledge, and that way, one, it'll help divert the water that way, but two, people with big trucks keep driving off my driveway, and I don't want them to drive into our new wildflowers. So I'm going to fill that out and make it a little bit more obnoxious for people with big trucks to work the edge. And if they do, then it's not the end of the world, because there's the riprap instead of just a big mud pit. So let's get started. Anyways, like I was saying, this is mostly just like a mix of some random bits of stuff that I dug out of the mulch pile, and actually probably half of it, maybe a third of it, was some compost that I made last year off of the cattle. And it was basically their winter holding area. They got covered in mulch, so it's basically just cattle poop. And hey, what's up? Look at this. Whoop. Worms. So cattle poop and mulch that had set and rested for 1 year. I flipped it a couple times last year before I piled it up for the winter. This is the first time I had really got into it. I just went over there and got like 3 or 4 skid steer loads of it. And it was freaking sweet. I was stoked about it. I sent a video of it to my permaculture friend Vicky, and that's how you know you're kind of a dork, or permaculture dork, when you're sharing pictures of your mulch, or your compost rather, with your friends. But I don't know. I don't even know if for sure this is what I want to have for here long term. I might just do this year, see how it looks, and then come back in here and maybe plant like some kind of little orchard or something. It's not that big of a space. It's only like 30 feet across this way and probably like 30 feet this way, give or take. But I mean, I could probably plant like 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 like small fruit trees. Maybe do like a little swale like across the middle, just to slow the water down, and plant some stuff. But for now, to get something on there, this is probably as good, or not as good, if not better than anything else. We're gonna make this look good for now. It's really soft because it's nice and fresh. Usually I would come through with the skid steer and kind of grade this all out, but we've had so much rain over the last few weeks that it's just been like, I mean, I'm sure you can see it's like soup. So I came in here with the skid steer a little bit, and it just made those big tracks. So I didn't think I could get it actually to look decent. So here I am now, doing handwork, which is fun. I actually get to see it a little bit better, see what's going on. I leave a little extra on that edge, and that way when I bring the rock in, I might make it a little bit taller through here, but then I can kind of push that dirt towards the edge. Maybe. I don't really want it to fill up with silt either. Who knows? It's kind of like one of those things where you're kind of just like going, and if it looks good, it is good. And if it doesn't, then you got to work a little bit more until it does. That's not bad. See, some of this is still pretty mulchy. I had a big old pile of mulch over there that I get from a buddy of mine. Now he's a buddy, but he was a tree service guy that I hounded he lives kind of like right down the road, and I saw him drive into his house one day, so I followed him and let him know that we have a great spot. You might be able to see it behind the truck there, behind the axe throwing. And I let him know, like, hey man, I got this awesome spot. If you need to ever dump, make it super convenient for him. And now he dumps like once a week or so. It's getting to the point where maybe a rake is better. But it's awesome because now I have all this mulch, probably more than I really can use. But that's a good problem to have, especially with the animals, because I got that big area and I can just stockpile it over there. And then when I need it, I always have it. And if it sits there long enough, it kind of just turns into compost anyways. And I mixed a whole bunch of, I had this really bad clay that I had dug out when I'd put the barn in. And I just mixed a bunch of it in with it. And so it kind of helped to give that some life. If you ever need a new garden tool, there's this company called Wolverine Products. I bought this rake a couple of years ago, and it is absolutely phenomenal. They make all kind of long-handled tools, but I've had a bunch of rakes in the past, and none of them seem to hold up. And then I bought this one. It was pretty expensive. I mean, relatively speaking, compared to other rakes, but it has just been like rock solid. It's fiberglass with steel. Totally rock solid. Absolutely love it. I got that shovel I was just using. I'm kind of waiting for that thing to break, and then I'm gonna replace it with one of Wolverine's shovels because they're freaking awesome. Like I said, a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of one of those buy once, cry once type of a deal. So if you're looking for something maybe that can hold up a little bit longer, I would definitely recommend them. I also have a tendency to like leave my tools out in the sun, especially at the house. We didn't have a shed for a long time, so I would just leave them like laying against the back of the house. And unfortunately, it's like that back of the house like almost faces directly south, like east southeast, so they would just get cooked out there. And this one has held up pretty well. This one spent a year getting cooked in the sun. It seemed to hold up pretty well. No one's really going to be walking in here, so it's not like it needs to be like a lawn necessarily, but I don't want it to be like super chunky. And it's got enough compost in it where the water's not just gonna like run down and just go straight to the driveway without slowing down first. So I don't really need to worry about putting a swale or any kind of like stop in this thing. Although it's probably not a terrible idea. This would be back to like when I say I'm kind of just making it decent, and then down the road it'll end up, because I'm going to change it, and then down the road I won't changing it. So I probably should maybe cut a little something in here just to slow the water down. Maybe like halfway through, maybe I will. Just to slow the water down when it's coming off of this little incline. When it's coming off this little incline, if I just put something like a little smiley face right here, it'll help soak it in. There's all that sand. Just a little something like that. You go here. Nothing perfect. It's not even on perfect contour. Not one of those things where you're like getting a laser out necessarily. but just something. It's like slow it down. Slow the water down just a bit. That way if big heavy rain comes in, just gets there. You know, when it's all said and done, you probably won't even be able to tell it's there. Just a little something something. Cool. Something like that. Yeah, this is all that wheat. We planted this when we dug the pond out. We had a bunch of extra material, and then I brought this up like a foot with a bunch of the extra material from the pond. And then, oh no, you know what? I brought all this material over here because I'm putting another lean-to on the side of the barn, and I had to cut out that little hillside there. I had to cut out like 3 or 4 more feet of the hillside. So I had all this old shitty clay. It was like, I mean, just terrible, like no life in it whatsoever. And so I put a little bit of compost in and nothing crazy, but it was like, I mean, there was nothing. So I planted all this wheat, and it was a 50-pound bag of wheat that we bought a long time ago that we used for cat grass for the cats at the house. And I had, 45 pounds of it, because you use literally like a handful at a time, and that's probably a half a handful too much. But so I planted all this wheat, and it has grown like gangbusters, which is super cool. And for at the time, it was really just a cover crop. I had planned to do something different with this, but I didn't know what it was. So we just put it down to give something to take care of the soil. But now I think I might just leave it and let it go all the way to seed, and then harvest it. And for nothing else, we'll replenish our supply. And I don't know, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe make some bread with it or something like that. I don't know what variety is. It's just like, I get it from this company called Kraut Creek. They're based, I think you can get them nationwide, but they're based out of Greenville, Ohio. And that's where we get all of our like bagged animal feed for when we have like pigs, or we get our mineral tubs from there, from Rio Max. And so we were buying this wheatgrass from PetSmart for the cats because they like it. It's kind of fun to spoil them. And so you can buy a 50-pound bag of wheat from Crow Creek, and it was like $11 versus like an 8-ounce bag from PetSmart for like $20. So we bought that big, huge bag, and it's lasted us. And now we just, every other week, we have one going, and as they're working on the one that's there, we start a new one. And that way every week they can always get a fresh cat grass, and they love it, and we love it. But anyways, we had this wheat, so we grew it, and now hopefully we'll never have to buy another bag again, because I'm sure this, when we harvest it, will be more than 50 pounds, I would think. And if not, then, like I said, we only used probably like less than 10 pounds for the actual cat grass. And so we should have plenty. These were some pawpaw trees that I had picked up from the Ohio Pawpaw Fest last year. And they're starting to bloom or bud out. That little paintbrush at the end there is their buds. It's supposed to smell like rotting meat, because pawpaws are pollinated by flies, not bees. So that rotting meat smell attracts the flies, and then they get pollinated. So we bought these 4. And typically pawpaws are found like in the woods. They can be like semi-shade trees, but these ones were already grown in the sun, so we put them here next to the pond. And they don't get very big, so we thought it would be nice to plant them over here, and that way they didn't block the view too bad when we were chilling on the patio. So, I'm kind of liking how this is going. I saw the swale and I was like, oh, how did I miss all this? That is what I did, see? Yeah, this will be fine for the, it's not perfect, but it'll be perfect for the seed mix, for the wildflowers. I grabbed some clay from that big pile over there, which is what I have left from digging out for that other lean-to, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll put this in here so that it gives it some like moisture retention, and it's just so gross and so hard to work with, but it definitely holds water, so you know, gotta work a little bit for the plants too, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna push that too far. Maybe I'll pull rock up that edge there, and I'll do like maybe like the last foot like to there with rock, just to kind of like hold it together on the edge there. But that way I don't get a bunch of runoff in and just like fill up the little ditch that I dug, because that would kind of defeat the purpose. But anyways, I'm gonna finish this up. I'm sure you don't want to watch me rake, and I'm kind of just over here rambling, so I'm gonna finish this up, and then after I get it looking good, we'll grab some grass seed. Sweet. So it is the second day I've been working on this. Finished it up. I got caught up with some things last night, but as you can see, here it is. So I finished up all the rock, worked the rock around the edges. Sheep are saying hi. Worked the rock around the edges to keep the big trucks and all the people that don't know how to drive down a driveway off of our driveway. Little Dexter's over there rolling around in the dirt or in the gravel. Dirty Dexter, getting dirty. But I smoothed it out best possible. I didn't get too carried away. It's gonna be a wildflower meadow. So like I said, nobody's gonna be walking in there. And if for nothing else, then this just creates little pockets for the water to slow down and work their way into the soil. So now I am going to spread out some of the wildflower seeds. And then I also picked up a bale of straw from the hardware store. And I'm gonna cover it with some straw just to keep the birds from picking at it and to give it a little bit more moisture retention, even though there is quite a bit of compost in there, so it should hold on to the moisture pretty well. And then I don't think I'll water it in or anything like that. It's still, actually today is the first day of spring, but we definitely could still see some cold temps, and looking ahead, there's still some days where it gets into the 30s. So I don't really want anything to germinate too crazy fast. Otherwise, you could get some sprouting and then Mother Nature come along and smoke all those little annuals. So I'm just gonna put everything down. I'm gonna put the straw on top. I'll probably put it in a little heavy so it doesn't all just blow away. And then let's see what happens when it comes up, So again, I am using the Eden Brothers Ohio Wildflower seed. Why are you yelling? Maisie is not happy that I'm not paying attention to her. Ohio Wildflower seed mix by Eden Brothers. So 60% annual, 40% perennial. Again, it's like 40% actual native to Ohio wildflowers, but we're not gonna get too bent out of shape about that because there's no invasives. There's just some color added. So according to the website, it says 2 to 4 grams per 10 square feet. I figured this is probably like 30 by 30, so 900 square feet. So if you multiply that, it ends up being like 13 ounces. But like all good things, I'll just put down significantly more than is required, and then we'll see how it goes. So it's pretty windy today. I hope this works out. This seed is a couple years old, so this probably doesn't have optimal germination rate. Although I say that now and it'll probably come up like gangbusters, but we'll see. Do a little bit of everything. A little bit of swirl, a little bit of throw. Make sure you work the edges. Try not to spill it all as I go. You know, I've seen a lot of people, if you're doing this at your own place, what they'll do is, this is pure seed. So what they'll do is they will mix it with like sand, and that way as you throw it out, you know, because you have this tendency to take a great big handful of it, and then you end up throwing out like 10 times more seed than you need, which is probably what I'm doing now. But if you have the sand, then you mix that in with it, and then you can go in there and get a great big handful, but it helps out with the ratio. You want to plant wildflowers on your bud? Dexter loves to be a part of the action. He's just the sweetest little boy, but he definitely needs to be involved. That's got to be enough. I'm probably putting down way too much. Maybe 1 or 2 more handfuls. All right, last handful. All right, perfect. Wrap this up. All right, now we need the straw. Is that what you're saying? This guy already knows. All right, this is gonna scare you, dude. Gotta cut these straps. 1, 2. Yikes. Yeah, this is just some wheat straw that I picked up from the hardware store down the street. It'd be perfect, but if you have these big chunks, it'll definitely have dead spots. My guess is, based on the amount of seeds that I just threw down, if we have a bare spot or two, it's probably not going to be the end of the world, because once it all comes up, you're not going to be able to tell. This mix is like a 24 to 36-inch tall mix, so probably not going to see a bare spot on the ground if everything's 3 feet tall. But I did an area up here. I was going to do the mulch all the way to the, or not the mulch rather, I was going to do the wildflowers all the way to the pond, but it's kind of nice to get some like cooler, established, maybe bigger perennials. I mean, if you have patience, these will definitely become that, but this way we'll be able to plant out some real cool like natives or some shrubs, maybe some blueberries, or probably not blueberries, some natives, some shrubs, maybe some currants, something that'll be like fun and tasty. And that way when you're out here swimming or getting cooled off, you can grab something. This is so sweet. Yeah, when we first put in the driveway, we put in like a diversion ditch on the high side of the driveway, and kind of really were thoughtful about the way that was going to look. So coming down the driveway there's like 10 or 12 feet before you get into the field of a little meadow mix, and it's actually the same mix. And so it's had dirt in my foot. It's had some time to mature, and so now we're working on all those perennials. So you got like a ton of cone flowers and black-eyed Susans, a bunch of that cool stuff. The goldenrod which I don't even think is in the mix, but we have a ton of goldenrod around here, which is an Ohio native, so it's taken over a bunch. Ironweed, which is like one of my favorites, it's a native. Again, I don't think it's in the mix, but it didn't need to be in the mix for it to show up. So when you come down the driveway, it's so nice. Aster, it's so nice all times of the year. You just get a ton of bloom, and it's just like a really cool welcome. So this area has been kind of under construction for the most part since we built the barn. It's just been like one iteration after another. And hopefully this is the last one, because honestly, like, now that I wrap this up, I'm pretty stoked on it. I had talked about possibly changing it up, and who knows, we still might. But you know, with this, the cool thing about this mix is it's like 24 to 36 inches tall, so you know, yay tall. But that doesn't stop you from putting like some fruit trees in anyways. So, you know, if we put in some apples or pears or something like that, even cherry, and kept them reasonably height where we could harvest them, they're still going to be 5 or 6 feet tall. And so you could just make little paths to them, or let them do their thing, and, you know, trample a little bit of wildflowers when harvest time was here, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. Sometimes if you have a little bit of taller stuff, it's kind of keep the deer out of it. Not saying they won't go into tall grass, obviously, but if it's really easy for them to walk up, they definitely will. If they can't really see what's going on, it might keep them away a little bit. All right. Well, cool. Well, this is it. So we're gonna have water coming down the driveway. It'll work on this little diversion ditch, keep it from running over and putting a bunch of mud in the bottom of the driveway, and hopefully keep people from driving through this, cutting the corner too tight. And then, you know, come the next few weeks, we should start to see some sprouts coming up, which should be exciting. And then by the time summer comes, this whole thing should be a wildflower meadow. So I'll definitely give you updates as time goes, and see how things come up. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed yourself. If you like what you did, if you like what you watch rather, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.